Good morning. Thank you for joining me for pre-service meditation. I am Rhonda Emmerich, and I am a licensed practitioner with Creative Living Fellowship. I am so grateful that you are here with me for the meditation this morning. Let's get comfortable in our seats and prepare for the meditation by closing our eyes and taking a nice deep breath. And as we exhale, let's just release all things that are distractions for us for the next hour, just preparing for the service. Just take another deep breath. And as we've released all that does not serve us at this very moment, let's just focus on love. Let's focus on peace. Let's focus on joy. Let's open our hearts wide, open our minds, allowing peace, allowing love, allowing joy to be our focus at this time. And again, one more cleansing deep breath. And just feel the relaxation rushing over our bodies, feeling it from the very tops of our head all the way down to the very tips of our toes as we rest in the silence. And now, with the sound of the chime, we bring our awareness back to this space, wiggling our fingers, wiggling our toes. Just bringing our awareness back to where we are at this very moment. Our service will start at 10 a.m. Namaste.
Morning, and welcome to the Creative Living Fellowship online Sunday service. Please join us in our opening song, Use Me.
Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. All that I'm saying is, command my hands. What must they do? Command my life. It's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. And God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Sherry F. McCreary. It is my pleasure to welcome you here to our online Sunday service here at Creative Living Fellowship this morning. We are an independent religious science church, and we welcome all paths that lead to truth. Our deepest intention here at Creative Living Fellowship is to be a community of love, care, and connection that opens hearts, expands consciousness, and transforms lives. And we do that through the principles and the practices of the science of mind. One of our practices here is holding the high watch, and we have two practitioners who are doing that today for us. They are Monica Zickas and Carrie Sherman. And what that means is that they are sitting in meditation and prayerful contemplation, just holding a space for the perfect unfolding of our time here today. So I thank you, Monica, and I thank you, Carrie, for your service here today. I'd also like to thank Rhonda Emmerich for the beautiful meditation service, pre-service meditation this morning. Wonderful job, Rhonda. Thank you very, very much. And let's take a breath together as I acknowledge our Sunday service team. As you know, Nicole Jordan is our Sunday service director. Deb Covington is our assistant director on Sunday mornings, and she's also our Jill of all trades. She's our operations manager also. And we have on tech team today, Reverend Mary Jane Hyde and Fran Peck. So thank you guys for your service. I really appreciate all that you do to help to bring this Sunday service forth on Sunday mornings. Our musical inspiration this week is favorite friend Craig Haley. He's back with us. We're thrilled about that. And he'll be with us very shortly. But right now, we're going to have announcements from Nicole Jordan. Following the announcements, there will be a brief gong wash. And after the gong wash, there'll be a few moments of silence. And then practitioner Jeannie Sovereigns will bring us our reading and our evocation. But right now, here's Nicole.
Good morning, Creative Living Fellowship. It's my pleasure to be here with you this morning to bring you today's announcements. Meditation is a great mindfulness practice that helps us to be present in the now. Why not join us for midday meditation throughout the week to start or support your meditation practice? Midday meditation is at noon, Monday through Friday. We also have a 20-minute pre-service meditation on Sundays at 9:35 a.m. Join us for any of these meditations through our Facebook and YouTube live streams and in Zoom. Speaking of spiritual practices, join Reverend Jorge every Monday evening and dive deep into the heart of practicing science of mind principles. Say yes to this weekly invitation to apply Sunday messages and lessons to your day-to-day life. Using the practices of contemplation, prayer, and introspection, open up to see beyond your boundaries, self-interest, and transform your consciousness. You can participate in Monday practice with Reverend Jorge through our Facebook and YouTube live streams at 6:30 p.m. Get your community, care, and connection on with your CLF family and Reverend Sherry every Tuesday as she hosts a Zoom meeting at 6:30 p.m. This week, Reverend Sherry will be leading Conscious Conversation. If you would like to suggest a conversation topic or activity, please email her at connect@creativelivingfellowship.com. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. In Forgiveness, the Final Frontier, you will learn to identify the blocks in your life, release blame, guilt, anger, regrets, and resentment, rekindle your dreams, goals, and vision, and experience more fulfilling relationships. This masterclass with Reverend Sherry started last week, but you have one less chance to join. Register today for either the evening sessions on Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. or the morning sessions on Fridays from 10 a.m. to noon. The Ernest Holmes book study is underway with Ernest Holmes. Know Yourself, You Are More Than You Think. Know Yourself is available in digital format from Science of Mind Archives for $8. Read the book through chapter 12 and join facilitator Reverend Mary Jane Hyde on Saturdays for heartfelt discussion and connection. The 2021 special membership meeting is next Sunday, October 24th at 11:45 a.m. We will be voting for new board members for the Board of Trustees. So active members, it's very important you attend to cast your vote. And shared households will need to log in separately to Zoom to cast your votes. All other CLF community members are also welcome to attend the meeting. Mindfulness. The Pathway to Peace of Mind with practitioner Peter Waring is coming up on Sunday, October 31st at 11:45 a.m. This 90-minute workshop is designed for beginners, those who struggle with meditation, or those who are always looking to learn more. You will learn about the roommate in your head and how to gain control. We will cover some science and practice some exercises that you can use immediately. Becoming aware that you are aware is the first step in the process of change and peace of mind. Register today. Remember, you can use your smartphone to text to give and make your contributions to CLF. Simply text the amount you'd like to give to 602-610-1868. If it's your first time donating by text, you'll be sent a link to set up your account. And after that, it's as easy as texting the amount you would like to tithe to 602-610-1868. And speaking of tithing, we are a tithing church, and that means that we tithe off of your donations. We're looking for a nonprofit to send our fourth quarter tithes to, the fourth quarter we're in now. So please, if you have a nonprofit you would like to nominate, use the link found in the comments to submit your recommendation today. Our Sunday prayer room is available to you after service today. Get your after service prayer with a practitioner by heading on over to Zoom using the link provided in the comments. Prayer room participants are transferred into a breakout room for a private session with one of our licensed practitioners. There is no fellowship today as we are having our monthly community visioning. Creative Living Fellowship is a divine idea in the mind of God. That idea is seeking to be revealed to and expressed through each of us in the CLF community as we continue to expand and move forward. When we engage in the sacred practice of visioning together, we open up to make ourselves available to catch God's idea or vision for Creative Living Fellowship. And we develop a greater sense of community, our role in it, and our connection to the whole. So join us at 11:30 today as Reverend Sherry leads us in the visioning process and learn how God wants to show up through you as Creative Living Fellowship. You can find the link for the visioning and other events in the comments. And you can make sure to join us on the device that you can type in through the Zoom chat. Sorry, my brain just stopped working. You can find the link for all of our activities on our website, under events, under our Facebook events, or in your weekly newsletter. Whew, that was a lot. And that's also the end for announcements for today. It is time to move on to our gong wash, followed by a moment of silence.
Good morning. Today's reading is Divine Forgiveness, Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 and 22, from the Science of Mind textbook, page 457. Jesus clearly explains the meaning of divine forgiveness. He says that we should forgive until 70 times 7. This is but another way of saying that forgiveness is eternal and ever available. What a load is dropped from the shoulders of personal responsibility when we realize that the eternal mind holds not against anyone. But to those who feel that this is unfair, it would be a hard saying. What? Says one, are not my virtues to be rewarded above those who have none? O foolish one and blind, what do you know about virtue? Has your life always been beyond reproach? Have you never fallen short of the divine calling? Who are you to point a finger of scorn at your brother or sister? The person who feels self-righteous, rise from his petty virtues, lives a life of self-delusion. Know this, virtue does not know that it is virtuous. And could it know, it would immediately become vicious. Virtue is sweet as the morning dew, soft as the evening star, and brilliant as the noonday sun. Could the dew tell why it is sweet? The star say why its light is soft, or the sun say why it shines? When we learn to put away our petty virtues with our petty vices, then shall we see clearly, not what either a virtue or a vice is, but what truth is. The mind which condemns understands not the truth of being, and the heart, which would shut the door of its bosom to one who is mistaken, strangles its own life, closing its eyes to a greater vision. The biggest life is the one which includes the most. Not that we foster vice or place a premium upon wrongdoing, but that we understand the frailties of human nature and learn to overlook much. To him who loves much, much is forgiven. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. There is only one power, one light, one heartbeat, one breath, and that one is God. That one is perfect, and that one is my life now, as it is everyone within the sound of my voice and beyond. I, Jeannie, speak my word for the highest and best for this day, for this service, for the message, knowing that Reverend Sherry is blessed and inspired, guided and guarded and directed, and that each of us receives exactly what it is we need to hear today. I bless teachers of all faiths everywhere and leaders that they are divinely guided and guarded. I bless everyone involved with this service, knowing that in this they are of service, serving those they love. I am grateful for this day, for this time, for this forgiveness, for this knowing that there is only one. And with gratitude, I say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I release my word, knowing it is already done and it is good. And so it is. And now I'd like to introduce our favorite friend, Craig Haley.
Come take a chance, learn to dance, expand in cosmic resonance. Just trust your heart to find the beat. You cannot help but move your feet. So don't be afraid to take the lead. It's easy to get up to speed. It's okay to stumble, it's okay to fall. The dance floor of life embraces it all. Love is the dance, inviting you in. You know all the steps, so why not begin? 'Cause love is the dance, inviting you into the dance. Life is your partner, you have been kissed. All apprehensions finally dismissed. The dance floor, your canvas, your movements a brush. Masterpiece in making, there's no need to rush. But love is the dance, inviting you in. You know all the steps, so why not begin? But love is the dance, inviting you into the dance. Once in a while, when a stranger cuts in, it's okay to go for a spin. Before you know it, you're starting to sway. The music of life won't lead you astray. So let go of worry and release your fears. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Practice makes perfect, you know this is true. The dance of life is you. It is a dance, inviting you in. You know all the steps, so why not begin? 'Cause love is the dance, inviting you into the dance. To the dance. To the dance.
Thank you, favorite friend, Craig Haley. That is an invitation we can all accept. Love inviting us into the dance of life, and we accept that invitation right here and right now. So let's take a deep breath together as we just move into this part of our service. As you know, this month we are focusing on forgiveness. And the theme for the month is the givingness in forgiveness. And you know, I have to tell you that forgiveness is really one of my favorite, if not my favorite topic. It is my favorite issue to deal with. It is my favorite spiritual practice to deal with and to help others deal with. I've been focusing my ministry on this area for many years, since 1998. And I love doing forgiveness work, and I love helping other people do the forgiveness work. So that's what we're focusing on this month. And one thing that I usually do is a forgiveness class or forgiveness theme just before the holidays, because that's just before the time we get with our families. And that's when we need to be really shored up with forgiveness and to have our forgiveness muscle really working sometimes when we get together with family. I had a minister friend who used to say that families are God's laboratories. And we sometimes get to experience that in our lives. So forgiveness generally comes up for me around holiday time, just before Thanksgiving. So when you go into that Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas holidays together, then we're already prepared. We're ready to be open and receptive and loving and together in unity. That's the purpose of doing forgiveness this time of year. So let's take a breath as we talk today about poking the bear, poking the bear, poking the bear. And, last week we talked about uncovering the elephant, and you will see that poking the bear and uncovering the elephant are very closely related. They are in the same category. They're in the same camp, because when we are dealing with uncovering the elephant, we are dealing with issues that we've pushed under the rug and decided not to deal with. Poking the bear generally means provoking or antagonizing someone or something, if it's an animal or whatever. But it's poking the bear and being mindful of doing that, because it can get a negative response or a violent response even. And if it's another person, sometimes it's a person in authority, someone who has a person of authority, person who has power over you in some way. But it's usually thought of as being something that we do that can bring a real negative result. And so we're really admonished, don't poke the bear. That's the admonishment, don't poke the bear. And today I'm going to ask you to think outside the box, and think outside the box and poke the bear. That's what I'm going to be asking us to do today. And you'll see how this all fits in with forgiveness, because the important thing to keep in mind with forgiveness is that, as Ernest Holmes says, that forgiveness must be a continual, there must be continual forgiveness, else there will be continual unforgiveness. Let me say that again. He says there must be continual forgiveness, else there will be continual unforgiveness. And to keep in mind that the door to the kingdom of God swings both ways. What we shut out will shut us out. So until we forgive, unless we can forgive, we will not be forgiven. It works that way. Until we can give, we cannot receive. Until we cannot possess that which we withhold. All of it works together. All of it works together. All of it works together. So forgiveness, we have to forgive to be forgiven. We have to give to receive. We have to not withhold if there's anything that we want to possess, because the kingdom of God swings both ways. And that's what we have to keep in mind. And so as we go through this time together today and looking at the issue of poking the bear, I'm identifying the bear in our lives as anger. I'm identifying the bear as anger. Take a breath and think about that. One of the things that blocks us the most, or can block us the most from forgiveness, is anger. And anger is something that comes in so many disguises. It shows up in so many different ways that we aren't even aware of sometimes. Anger can show up disguised as fear. It can show up as resentment. It can show up as judgment. It can show up as shame, as guilt, as all kinds of things. Passive aggressive behavior is one of the ways that we deal with anger. Some people deal with anger. Disappointment, fear, all those things are disguised as sometimes anger. Grief also. Underneath grief is anger oftentimes. And so many times we aren't willing to deal with that. Anger has really a bad rap in our society. It can be destructive, yes, and it can be constructive. It can be constructive, and we have to be willing to really get in touch with that anger, because anger is an emotion like other emotions. It's very complex. It's very complex. And each of us relates to anger in different ways. Each of us relates, or we don't, and sometimes we relate by not dealing with it at all. And some people deal with it a lot. Some people deal with it all the time. Some people walk around in anger all the time, in that place of anger, in that emotion of anger all the time. And so what I'm asking us to do today is to really, really consider being a bear poker. Be a bear poker. Really begin to look at anger. What is it that pushes your buttons? What issue or what people push your button? And then when they push your button, how do you respond to it? How do you respond, or how do you react to it? But until we are willing to look at those things, until we are willing to look at those issues, then we aren't really clear sometimes about just how we manage anger in our lives, or how much anger there is in our lives, for some of us, whether there is anger in our lives. And I say for some of us because I grew up in a generation of women, particularly, who anger was not a ladylike emotion. It wasn't something that women expressed regularly. It wasn't something that we talked about regularly. So it was something that was hidden, or that was denied, or that was buried in some way. And thank God that that's not the case any longer. We are much more aware of the fact that anger is an emotion, and anger is something that needs to be expressed, and anger is something that needs to be acknowledged, and anger is something that needs to be dealt with. And in the area of forgiveness, it is particularly important that anger be dealt with, because anger blocks. Anger blocks. Anger closes our hearts. Anger separates. There's no way we can be at one with God. There's no way we can be at one with each other. There's no way we can be at one with ourselves, so long as there's anger. So long as there's anger holding us back. Because anger creates resentment. Anger creates judgment. If there's unrealized anger or buried anger, it shows up as resentment. It shows up as judgment. It shows up as grudges. It shows up as shame. It shows up as all those things when there's buried anger. When there's buried anger. And then when there's anger that's unacknowledged at all, it shows up as denial. Oh, I'm not angry. Oh, I'm fine. Nothing ever angers me. Nothing ever bothers me. I'm sure we all know people like that. And I'm sure there may have been times in our lives when we have been in that place of, oh, everything's fine, of not acknowledging anger. And so I'm saying to us that in order to get to forgiveness, sometimes we as we go through this practice of forgiveness, of releasing, of letting go of grudges, of letting go of resentments, of letting go of hatred, of letting go of all that stuff that would block us from our oneness with spirit, as we get into that, sometimes there are things we aren't willing to let go of. There's some things that we aren't ready to let go of, and sometimes we don't know why. We don't know what's blocking. And the last thing we think about sometimes is anger, because we experience anger in different ways. Those people who don't acknowledge anger don't experience it at all. They don't experience it at all. It's just buried. So it's moved. That's, as I said, that's called denial. But for people, there are other people who do experience anger, who are afraid of it, because anger has a bad rap. As I said, anger can be very explosive. It can be very destructive. It can be expressed very destructively. Some people have experiences with anger having been expressed very destructively. And so it makes us fearful of even dealing with the concept of anger. And I'm saying to you that unless we deal with it, unless we poke that bear and really look at it, unless we poke that bear and acknowledge that it's there, then there's no way we can be open enough and our hearts be open enough to be in that free flow of spirit, so that we can get to that place of forgiveness, so that we can experience real freedom. And we've talked about and thought about poking the bear being a dangerous act. And I'm saying to you, not poking the bear can be a dangerous act, because it keeps us out of our place of oneness with God. It keeps us out of our place of oneness with each other. It keeps us out of a place of freedom in our own lives, in our relationships. As we move through our lives, it keeps us out of that place of peace of mind, that place of peace in our lives, that place of harmony in our lives, harmony in our relationships. And so the important thing for us to do is to keep in mind that it's okay to poke the bear. In fact, we must poke the bear. We must look at this thing called anger and see just how it's affecting our lives, just how it's affecting our lives. And then the second thing we do after we poke the bear is to let the bear out. To let the bear out. And what that means is giving ourselves permission to be angry. Giving ourselves permission to be angry. Giving ourselves permission to be angry and recognizing that expressing anger doesn't have to be a destructive act. It can be channeled in different ways. You know, we can learn how to talk it out if necessary. If we talk it out with a friend or a close colleague or a therapist or a counselor. Pray it out. Pray it out with the practitioner or minister or a prayer partner, whatever the case may be. Walk it out with exercise or some physical way of letting it out of our bodies. But the important thing is to give ourselves permission to be angry and then let it out. Let it out in a constructive way. We can allow our anger to fuel us into to act as a call for action, a call to action. It can fuel positive action, can fuel positive change. Anger can motivate us to do things that make changes in our own lives. It can motivate us to set boundaries where we need to set boundaries. It can motivate us to become more active civically. It can motivate us to be more active in our church community, in the communities in which we live, in our lives, in a constructive way that is beneficial to everyone, that benefits everyone. We can allow the anger that we are feeling to be used productively in a way that is beneficial to all. And that's when we begin to open up. That's when our hearts begin to open up. That's how we begin to see the world differently. That's how we begin to see anger differently. That's how we begin to experience our relationship with it differently. When we are willing to let the bear out, and then channel it productively, channel it in a more productive way. And this is so important for us to do because, you know, anger is a very strong emotion. And when we don't express it, or any strong emotion, negative emotion, that energy has to go somewhere. And generally where it goes is in our bodies. And then we begin to experience all kinds of dis-ease and discomfort. And they have all kinds of names. But we have all kinds of things that happen to our body temples when we don't release and let go of that negative energy. And so I'm inviting you today to really, really consider not only poking the bear, but letting the bear out and finding someone, if necessary, to help you in that process of letting the bear out, because it's so important for our freedom. It's so important for our healing. It's so important for our being at one with each other and at one with ourselves when we let it all out, let that negativity out so that we can experience the free flow of spirit, so we can experience the fullness of life. So we can really become all that we were created to be, so that we can become it because we don't have anything blocking it. We don't have anything blocking that free flow of spirit. And that's what we do when we let the bear out. That's what happens when we give ourselves permission to be angry and to know that it's really okay, that it's really okay. So let's take a deep breath here. As we look into the third thing to do is once we let the bear out, once we give ourselves permission, then practice forgiveness. Then practice forgiveness. Then practice forgiveness. Anger is not a primary emotion. Anger is a response to something. It doesn't just come up by itself. You're just angry. Well, something caused that. Something caused that anger. And so looking at, when we really start to poke the bear, we start to look at what it is, what was the source of that anger in the first place? What's the real source of the anger in the first place? Someone cuts you off on the freeway and you get really angry. Is that really what you're angry about? Is that really because someone cut you off on the freeway, someone you don't even know got in front of you and whatever they did? Is that really the source of your anger? Or think about how you're feeling when that happens. Were you feeling disrespected? Were you feeling like you don't count? Were you feeling like that person was disregarding you in some way, that driver? Well, where'd that feeling come from? If we just trace those things back, then we can begin to look at what's the real source of the anger. Is this a pattern in my life? It is. If it is a pattern in my life, how do I get rid of it? So it requires us to take some time with introspection. It requires us to take some time with self-reflection. It requires us to take some time just really getting in touch with ourselves. This is what forgiveness requires of us. Forgiveness requires us to get in touch with ourselves. Forgiveness requires us to look at what's happening for us. Forgiveness requires us to look at our feelings. Forgiveness requires us to be mindful, to be in the moment, so that we know when we're feeling resentful. And then we can trace that feeling back to whatever person or whatever situation came up. And then we can immediately begin to let it go. Because when we don't let those things go, then we get into that thing that's known as nurtured anger. And nurtured anger becomes resentment. Nurtured anger becomes resentment. It becomes grudges. It becomes all those things. And so we don't want to get into that. We want to be mindful as we go along and learn to forgive and get into the habit of forgiving, so that we learn to forgive on the spot. We learn to let go on the spot. If something ticks us off in the moment, then, right then, deal with it to the degree that you can. Deal with, if you can't deal with it with another person, deal with your own feelings about it. Acknowledge your own feelings about it right then and right there, and do what you can right then to let it go, so that you aren't dealing with nurtured anger that turns into a resentment, that turns into a grudge, that turns into a dis-ease of some kind in our bodies. And when it's something that we do ourselves, then dealing with ourselves, dealing with what it was we did or did not do, forgiving ourselves for whatever it was that we did or did not do, so that we aren't harboring shame or harboring guilt or harboring blame or whatever those things are that we hold against ourselves. And so I'm inviting us today to really, really look at poking that bear of anger, really looking at where in your life are you angry? What is it that's making you angry? What has made you angry? What have you been holding a grudge about? What have you been holding some kind of resentment about? What have you been holding? Anything that would block you from the free flow of spirit. What have you been holding that would block you from enjoying your life, from living life to the fullest, from taking full advantage of the relationship that we have with the all that is, taking full advantage of the flow of spirit, so that we can live in that flow, so that we can move in that flow, so that we can be open and available to that within which we live and move and have our being, so that we can experience our relationship with God, so that we can experience our relationships with each other, so that we can experience our relationship with ourselves, which is so important. And I continue to mention our relationship with ourselves because people tell me over and over again that forgiving themselves is the hardest thing to do. And so many people have that experience, that forgiving themselves is the hardest thing to do. You deserve your own forgiveness. You deserve your own forgiveness. Take a breath. You deserve your own forgiveness. And so if anger at yourself, or grudge against yourself, or whatever it is, shame, or whatever it is, guilt, whatever it is you may be holding against yourself, get in touch with that. Give yourself permission to be angry about it, and then deal with it. And then really talk it out, pray it out, walk it out, whatever is required to let it all come out, so that you can forgive yourself and live life to the fullest at one with yourself. Because when we live at one with ourselves, we are at one with God, because God is our very life. God is the only life. We're at one with God. And so we can't be out of alignment with ourselves and out of connection with ourselves and be connected to God. That doesn't make sense. If God and I are one, I have to be at one with me too. I have to be at one with me too. If you and God are one, then you have to be at one with you too, in order to be at one with God. And that is so important. It sounds really simple. And it is really simple. And it's not always easy to stay in that place, to stay in that place of oneness, no matter what, to stay in that place of oneness. And so I invite you to really look at the role that anger is playing in your life today. And as you uncover the elephant, sometimes we didn't realize that the elephant really is anger. So once you uncover it, then poke that bear. Poke that bear that's under that rug. And once you poke it, deal with it. Do whatever it takes to deal with it so that you can free yourself up, so that you can be, as I said before, all that you were created to be, so that we can experience the allness and the fullness of God. So that we can experience the allness and fullness of God. Because as Ernest Holmes says, that one who separates himself from the divine fire becomes an isolated spark. We don't want to be isolated sparks. We want to be at one. We want to be in that place of oneness. We want to be in that place of knowing and sensing and feeling God's presence always, and knowing that it is always right where we are. It is always available to us, that God's presence is that from which we can never depart. And that any sense of separation we have is just that. It's a sense of separation, because there's nothing that can separate us from God except our own sense of separation. And so it's important for us to do those things that are necessary to heal that sense of separation that we have. And we can heal that sense of separation. We can begin to heal that sense of separation right here and right now by poking that bear called anger in our own lives, and then letting it go, letting it out, letting it go. And we let it go through forgiveness. We let it go through forgiveness. And that's what I'm inviting you to do today. Let it go through forgiveness. So let's take a breath together as we just move into prayer in this moment. Just moving into that place of knowing that God is all there is. How grateful I am to know this truth, that God is all there is. The only power, the only presence, the only mind, the only life, the only breath, the only activity is God. No matter what we call the activity, it's God. Because God is the only activity, the only breath. And so we just breathe right now and know that that breath, that onlyness, that only breath is breathing each one of us. And we allow it to breathe each one of us as we move into full alignment, full synchronicity with it. And just knowing that it is that from which we can never be separate. It is that within which we live and move and have our being. It is that from whose presence we can never depart, because the presence of God is everywhere. 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 How awesome it is to know this truth. And so standing in this knowing of this truth, I speak the word for all of us this day. Just speaking a word of freedom to live, freedom to be at peace, freedom to be at ease, freedom to be in the presence of God always, because there are no blocks. And so as we go through this forgiveness practice, this releasing practice, this letting go practice, we let go of the disappointments, we let go of the fear, we let go of the shame, we let go of the guilt, we let go of the resentments, we let go of the anger, we let go of the anger, we let go of anything that would block that free flow of spirit. And as we let go, then all things are made new, because we are free to be all that we were created to be. We are free to express the truth of our being, and that is that we are whole, that we are perfect, that we are complete. There's nothing to block that. There's nothing to block that when we stand in this place of oneness with the all that is. And so I speak the word for each of us to stand in this place of oneness, to live in this place of oneness, to be in this place of oneness right here and right now, by letting go of anything that would block, anything that would block. And I speak the word for anyone who's experiencing dis-ease or discomfort of any kind this day, knowing that it is released, that it is dissolved by the word that's being spoken. There's a willingness to just let it go, let it be. I speak the word for anyone who's experiencing loss of any kind, just knowing that God is the great comforter and is right where each person is, right where each person is in this moment as the great comforter. I speak the word of abundance and prosperity and all needs met for each and every person. Healing in the body temple, whatever the needs may be. I know that God is. God is. God is. And that's all we ever need to know, that God is, and that all things are made new. I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer. You may speak their names silently or aloud, and you may speak their names now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right where each person is. God is in the midst of every situation, every circumstance. God is everywhere present, and that healing is happening everywhere. This word goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day, knowing that God is in the midst. This word goes out to our government officials, and just knowing that God is in the midst of the apparent divisiveness, and that decisions that are being made for the highest and the best of all concerned. That there's a releasing and a letting go of a need for divisiveness and a sense of separation, and there's more unity and union coming forth each and every moment of each and every day, because God is in each and every moment of each and every day. This is a truth that I know. This is a truth that I stand in. This is the truth that I know is made manifest right here, right now. And I give great, great thanks for it. And so I simply say, thank you, Father, Mother God, for everything. I know indeed that all is well, for I know indeed that all is God. And I simply allow it to be. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Sherry, for those very powerful words and insightful words about anger. Very powerful. And as always, the powerful prayer. This is the time we participate in the divine law of giving and receiving by giving of our tithes and offerings. CLF is a tithing church, and we invite you to join us in this sacred practice by tithing here at CLF. Click the donate link on our website or in the comments in Zoom, YouTube, and on our Facebook. You can also use your smartphone to text to give. We always truly thank you and appreciate your continued financial support of CLF. And now let's repeat our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God, and so it is. And now let's welcome back Craig Haley with our offering music.
Here we go. Joy is a state of mind. I'm in it all the time. I let my thoughts just flow, turn around and go. Joy is my state of mind. Well, it's a happy thing. I get a ting-a-ling. I'm flying on a wing, just like I'm on a swing. Joy is my state of mind. Every thought has its time and place. You can end up in a state of grace. So now you smile cause you're feeling fine. You know it's really just your state of mind. It's what I say and do, sort of my point of view. Not what's been won or lost, don't matter what the cost. Joy is my state of mind. At times I contemplate and I think to myself, well, hey, I'm great. Then I decide to stay that way. I think I choose this thought every day. Oh, let it happen now. Come on and sing it loud. You just release your fears because it's all so clear. Joy is a state of mind. Every thought has its time and place. You can end up in a state of grace. So now you smile cause you're feeling fine. It's really just your state of mind. Oh, let it happen now. Come on and show me how. You just release your fears. You know it's all so clear. Joy is not a state of mind. Oh, let it happen now. Come on, show me now. You just release your fears because it's very clear. Joy is my state of mind. Just release those fears, become a buccaneer. Joy is your state of mind.
Wow, thank you so much, Craig Haley. It's so good to have you with us today, and we know you'll be back with us real soon. Let's take a breath as I just move into a couple of closing announcements that I have. Just a reminder that we have our community visioning today. I'm excited about that, and just inviting you all to attend, knowing that God has an idea for each one of us as a part of this Creative Living Fellowship community, and there's a way that God will express as Creative Living Fellowship through each one of us. And so it is important for us to come together as a community, to open ourselves to catch God's vision for Creative Living Fellowship. And that's what we'll be doing today. So I invite you to join us at 11:30 for that. There won't be a fellowship time today. We will be doing the community visioning. However, the Zoom prayer room will be open immediately after service. So you don't have to miss out on prayer with a practitioner. There will be practitioners there available to pray with you in a private meeting room. So hop on over to the Zoom prayer room when you're done and get a prayer with the practitioner. If you would like to send an email to practitioners, you can do that with a written prayer request at prayer@creativelivingfellowship.com. The practitioners pray over the prayer request for 30 days. And if you'd like to talk with the practitioner, we have on-call practitioners 24/7. So the contact information is in the comments or is on our website. So the point is, you don't have to walk around with a heavy heart. And sometimes our hearts can get pretty heavy when we're dealing with forgiveness issues. So avail yourself of the services of a practitioner. I invite you to do that very strongly. Don't forget that Monday evenings, we have Monday practice with Reverend Jorge, and that is such a wonderful time for spiritual practice, such a wonderful practice to add to our spiritual practice is a time with Reverend Jorge from 6:30 to 7 on Monday evenings. Another way to connect with us is on Tuesday evenings at the Tuesday Connection meeting. And I meet with whoever shows up every week from 6:30 to 7:45. And this week we have Conscious Conversation. So join us. I invite you to join us for that. And of course, we have the Monday evening, no, that's not right, the Saturday book study with Reverend Mary Jane Hyde. That's another wonderful opportunity for spiritual practice, making Saturday morning book study a part of your spiritual practice, the Ernest Holmes book study. It's also an opportunity to deepen in the teachings and of Ernest Holmes and the writings of Ernest Holmes and learning more about what religious science is really all about. And of course, the forgiveness class is still open one more week. This week, Thursday evening, 6:30 to 8:30, or Friday mornings, 10 to 12. We started last week. It's really a great group of folks, and we're doing some great work, and we're really going to be doing even more healing work in the forgiveness class. So you still have an opportunity to join the forgiveness class. I invite you to do that this week. So let's take a breath. I think I've told you everything except to read the treatment for supply and to use it twice a day, every day. Don't forget to use it. That's our community prayer, and we use it over and over and over again because it really works. And so don't forget to do that. And of course, I always remind you to connect with each other, sending text messages, telephone calls, letters, cards, and some people are even seeing each other again. However it is you connect, the important thing is to connect and to stay connected as a community, and to keep in mind that we have all kinds of little ways that we are providing opportunities for connection. We have our things that we do during the week. Yes, they're on Zoom, and yes, there are ways of connecting. And thank God for Zoom, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do the connections that we do right now. So I invite you to avail yourself of what we do have to offer and how we can connect at this time. Just keeping in touch, saying, I love you, I miss you, and I can't wait to see you soon. Take good care. I love you, I miss you, I can't wait to see you soon. Meanwhile, I'm so glad you're here on Sunday mornings and on Tuesday evenings and on whenever it is I get to see you, and at book study, wherever it is. So take good care. God bless. Here's our closing song. I release.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I